Well, we'll look at the small print, but Rachel Reeves set out fiscal rules at our conference, which weren't altogether different, to be honest. I mean, the big dividing line, especially I think shown up by this budget, isn't about who wants to spend more and who's going to tax more, because we've got the highest level of tax since 1945 and spending projected to go up. It's about choices and priorities. And we think that on both of those tests, taxing fairly, spending wisely, the government is really falling short. The tax burden that the Chancellor's announced, not just today, but in previous months, disproportionately falling on working people. We've got a £6 billion council tax bombshell coming. That was in the budget. We already knew about the 10% increase in national insurance. That's coming in April. And even with the changes the Chancellor announced today, there are still about 4 million people who are on the lowest income, some of the poorest people in our country, who are seeing their incomes fall, even as the Chancellor is giving away a £12 billion tax super deduction to 1% of corporations, including the likes of Amazon. So on that test of taxing fairly, he's failing. And of course, we can give you countless examples of waste, whether it's £37 billion on test and trace, which didn't work, the billions wasted on PPE that didn't work, or 50 million quid from Matt Hancock's pub landlord. Take your pick. So I think that's the dividing line in politics. And as we try and win back trust with the voters on the economy, we're asserting ourselves as a party that would tax fairly, spend wisely and get the economy growing. Because even if our economic growth had just been the same as our international competitors over the last 11 years, there'd be about an extra £30 billion or so to spend on public services. And that's without raising a penny of tax on anyone. And that's where the government's gone so badly wrong.
The whole country's been through a really difficult 18 months or so with this pandemic. Is there a case that Labour needs to cheer up a little bit?
We're trying to cheer up. Look, I think there is something positive that we're saying. Look, of course, as the opposition, we criticise the government. But we're also saying that it doesn't have to be like this. There is a better way of managing the economy. We would have cut VAT today on energy bills, which would have put money back into people's pockets. We'd have cancelled the £20 cut to universal credit, putting more money in people's pockets. We wouldn't be looking to national insurance as a way of raising money. We'd be looking to forms of unearned income, property, shares, dividends, because there are fairer ways of taxing. We wouldn't, I'd suspect, have given billions away on booze deductions. We would have put more money into children's education. In fact, we had an education recovery plan from the Labour Party that was very much in keeping with the government's own Children's Recovery Commission. And the difference is we set out what that would be and how we would pay for it. The government have fallen well short of that, and the commissioner resigned. So that's the thing about politics. It is about choices. It's about priorities. And that's why, I've been a bit frustrated with some of the coverage since the budget. People saying, oh, this is a Labour budget because they're spending more. But that's not what the Labour Party is about. We don't want to spend more for the sake of it. We want to spend more and invest more on the right things. And we also want to make sure that it's paid for in a fair way, ideally through economic growth and getting the economy firing on all cylinders. But where we do have to tax more, we want to make sure that that burden of taxation is being applied fairly. And as I say, that's where Rishi Sunak is really failing that test of fairness. But don't think we're miserable about our country. This is a great country, but it could be so much greater if we had a government with the right priorities focused on things that really make a difference to people, especially when they are feeling a pinch in their pockets with the cost of living crisis we've got.